So I heard you reference, when was his first tour?
It was 2015.
Is that late 2015, mid or early 2015?
I don't recall. I don't know if it was the middle when it started. All that I remember, him and Travis Scott was on tour together.
Okay. So before then, did you and Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Williams hang out for any reason other than work?
Could you ask that question again?
Yes. Before then, did you, Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Stillwell, and Mr. Williams hang out for anything other than work?
We partied together. I said that already.
Mounk Tounk is on the stand, y'all. So first of all, just hit the like button for Mounk Tounk, y'all. Stop what you're doing. Hit the like button for Mounk Tounk. We're going to get right into it. First, I'm going to show you, after a lot of back and forth about jury instructions, I'm going to show you the takeaway that the judge came away with, and then we're going to hop right into Mounk Tounk. Y'all, listen, DA Love, DA Hilton, their job is not easy, y'all, okay? Their job is not easy. You about to see why, because they got to deal with Woody, and they got to deal with Mounk Tounk. Let's get into it. Like, comment, subscribe.
Review in just a minute. I emailed it, but essentially, you are about to hear evidence that a co-defendant in this case has pled guilty to some of the charges in this indictment. I caution you that the co-defendant's guilty plea conviction itself is only admitted for a limited purpose. That guilty plea is an admission by this witness only that he committed the criminal acts to which he pled. You are not to consider the co-defendant witness's guilty plea as evidence that any other defendant is guilty of committing any of the criminal acts alleged against them in this indictment. Each defendant is entitled to have the issue of his guilt determined solely on the basis of the evidence against him and not on whether another person has been convicted of the same charges with which the defendant is accused. If you find that the co-defendant witness provided testimony on the stand that is inconsistent with his guilty plea admissions, you may consider the witness's prior inconsistent statement, that is, his guilty plea admissions to the allegations in the charges to which he pled guilty, as substantive evidence, which you may then consider against any defendant currently on trial for whatever bearing it may have on the issues on trial.
That's good for the state. The state has no objection.
I get it. It's good, subject to my objections. And our previously argued about the difference between substantive and impeachment. And sure. I just want to make sure I preserve that. But insofar as those additions, the court is going to give those additions. I have no objection to that wording.
I understand. Okay. All right. I think we're ready for the jury then.
Name Antonio Slade.
Hey, Mr. Sledge, if you wouldn't mind that tall mic, just kind of reach up and try to, thank you. There you go.
Name Antonio Sledge, ANTONIOSLEDGE.
Good morning, Mr. Sledge, and you are perfectly situated, turning to the jury so that they can hear you. I'm going to stand over here so that you speak loud enough so that the last juror can hear you, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sledge, would you please tell the jury how old you are?
43 is age.
Where did you grow up?
Atlanta, Georgia.
What part of the city did you grow up in?
Downtown Atlanta.
Did you also go to high school in Atlanta?
Yes.
And what high school did you attend?
Southside High School.
Did you finish?
No.
What grade did you finish? The last grade you completed?
Probably 9th grade.
By 9th grade, could you read and write though?
Yes.
All right. Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, brothers.
How many?
3 living.
Where did you fall in line with your siblings? Oldest, youngest, middle?
Next to the youngest.
All right. Do you know of a person named Kenneth Copeland who answers to the name Woody?
Yes.
All right. You sort of frowned up your face. Why'd you do that?
No reason.
All right.
Come on now.
Do you know of a person named Jeffrey Williams who answers to the name Thug?
Yes.
What about a person named Shannon Stillwell or Shannon Jackson who answers to the name SB?
Yes.
Do you know a person named Diamante Kendrick who answers to the name Yak?
Yes.
Do you know a person named Demekion Garlington who answers to the name Lil D?
Yes.
Do you know a person named Quindarius Zachary who also answers to the name Lil D?
Yes.
How do you distinguish one Lil D from the other when you're just talking in regular conversation?
I call both of them D.
Okay. And if someone asks you which D, how do you respond?
D.
If you're talking about Quindarius Zachary.
D. Lil D.
Lil D. Do you know of a person named Rodelius Ryan?
No.
Do you know of a person named Marquavius Huey who goes by the name Quay?
No, I don't know him, but I heard it around the way.
So you do know of him or you?
I know of him.
Okay. What about Quamarvius Nichols? Do you know of a person named Quamarvius Nichols who answers to the name Quay as well?
Of him.
Do you know a person named Quantavius Greer who answers to the name Umfung?
Yes.
Do you know of a Dolly Greer or a Max Greer?
Yes.
What about Dora Greer?
Yes.
All right. Do you know them to be Jeffrey Williams' sisters?
Yes.
Now tell the jury, if you will, how well you would say that you know Jeffrey Williams.
I've been knowing Jeffrey Williams since he was probably like 16.
How many years would that make it that you've known him?
What is 2024? Probably like it's been a minute. I can't really, off the top of my head, I don't really know.
If it was when he was 16, about how old were you when you first met him?
I was 20 something. I'm probably like 26. I'm about like 10 years older than Jeffrey.
Okay. Tell the jury, if you will, how well you know Shannon Stillwell or SB.
Well, I met Shannon around like 2014, 15, somewhere in that area.
When you say you met him around 2014 or 2015, what does that mean for you in terms of how well you know him?
I know we built a great relationship.
And was that from the start, from the time that you met him to now, you all have had a great relationship, or is that something different?
You said could you repeat yourself?
Yes, I can. Did you all have that great relationship that you just described for the jury from the moment that you all met, or did it develop over time?
From the time that we met.
Okay. And do you all still have that same great relationship?
Well, I haven't talked to Shannon because he's been incarcerated.
Okay, hold up. Your Honor, we would move to strike that last portion.
Yeah, please disregard that. All right, give me just a second. Y'all didn't even get comfortable. I'll have to excuse y'all and see you back again in a few minutes.
Mr. Sledge, can you step outside?
Your Honor, may it please the court, on behalf of Mr. Stillwell, we are moving for a mistrial at this time. There's been a comment about my client, comment from witness Antonio Sledge about my client being incarcerated. It is prejudicial to my client, suggests a criminal history, it suggests a flight risk. It prejudices my client. Also, Your Honor, I would just note for the record that Mr. Sledge, my understanding is Mr. Sledge has been cooperative with the state, meaning he's made himself available. His attorney, Mr. Derek Wright, is here. Mr. Sledge has been here all morning. There's absolutely no reason that the state knew what questions they were going to ask. They knew that they were going to ask about the relationship with my client at this time. The duty is on the state to prepare their witnesses to not relay or testify to prejudicial material, such as my client being incarcerated throughout this trial, and they failed to do so. So we're moving for a mistrial at this time.
Ms. Love.
Judge, the state objects to a mistrial. The question that I posed was not one I expected this witness to bring up Mr. Stillwell's incarceration. We'd ask simply for a limiting instruction for a few reasons. One, Mr. Shart indicated that his mistrial motion is based on the witness's reference to Mr. Stillwell's incarceration. There has been admitted as evidence that Mr. Stillwell got incarcerated at some point. We expect further testimony to come out with details about Mr. Stillwell's becoming incarcerated, and the witness's statement on the stand, even where I asked that it be struck, does not rise to the level of meriting or warranting a mistrial. And I can go outside and further caution him to not talk about anyone's incarceration.
Okay, and isn't Mr. Stillwell in fact charged in this indictment with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon?
He is.
Okay.
He is, Your Honor, and I don't think there's any dispute that my client was incarcerated at some point. He's been arrested for these charges. I mean, I think everyone would acknowledge that. But the fact that he's still incarcerated, and I just don't understand how the state could ask, how's your relationship with him on this date or today? And they wouldn't expect a witness who apparently wasn't prepped to say, oh, well, actually, I haven't been able to talk to him because he's incarcerated. That seems like a very likely
that's not
answer.
exactly what happened.
Well, whatever the transcript shows, it seems like that was a very predictable answer to that question.
Okay, I mean, it sounded to me the way it came up. Please do further caution him, but it did not sound like that came up as a purposeful question to secure that kind of evidence before the jury. It was essentially like, how is your relationship with Mr. Stillwell? Well, he'd been incarcerated. That could be, and that's all that he ended up saying. That could have been at any point in the past. That did not indicate right now he is presently incarcerated. I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. If you want a further any kind of instruction, let me know that. But given that evidence has already and is going to come out that at some point in Mr. Stillwell's past, he has been incarcerated, this really is nothing beyond what they're going to know anyway.
May I step outside?
You may. Do you want any sort of other instruction, curative instruction?
May I have a moment?
Sure.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I believe that you have already instructed the jury to disregard the last comment. So at this point, I don't want to bring more attention to it. I would, for the record, though, renew my motion for mistrial to preserve this issue and reserve it before the next questions.
All right, understood.
Thank you.
May we continue?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Sledge, when was the last time that you spoke with Shannon Stillwell, or SB?
2022.
What was your relationship like in 2022, the last time that you spoke with him?
Good terms.
All right. Since 2022, has anything soured the way you feel about Mr. Stillwell?
No.
I asked you if you know a person by the name of Rodelius Ryan. I failed to ask you if you know a person who goes by the name Lil Rod.
I heard him. He very younger than me, so like,
Okay.
you know.
Do you recognize that person to be in the courtroom today? If you just look around.
Yes.
All right. Would you describe what he's wearing for the jury and describe his seating
He was
position?
sitting between the lady with the white hair and the one with the dreads.
Your Honor, would the record please reflect that the witness has identified Rodelius Ryan?
It'll say reflect.
Thank you. Now, when did you first meet Rodelius Ryan, or Little Rod, as you know him?
We never really had a personal conversation or nothing like that.
How was it that you came to know of him?
Just in a certain area, like the Cleveland Avenue area.
When you say in the Cleveland Avenue area, is that the area that you grew up in?
No, I used to go to the park in Cleveland Avenue.
What park on Cleveland Avenue?
Cleveland Avenue Park.
Now, Cleveland Avenue Park, do you call it anything other than Cleveland Avenue Park?
No.
All right. And when you say you used to go to the park and you met Mr. Ryan in that area, what was the occasion?
I used to go over there and play basketball, shoot basketball.
Did you play basketball with Mr. Ryan?
No.
Okay. So what were the circumstances that you got to know who Lil Rod is?
Just by people saying his name.
And who was it that introduced you to or told you who
They
Lil
never,
Rod is?
me and him never was introduced to each other.
Okay. Is it then fair to say you don't know him very well at all?
No.
All right. Please tell the jury how well you know Quindarius Zachary.
I've been knowing Quindarius Zachary since he was a child.
How old as a child?
I don't recall on that.
Fair enough. Do you recall generally about how old you were when you first met him?
I was young too.
15, 16?
Yeah, right, probably around that age.
Okay. And did you all ever go to high school or anything like that together?
No, he from the same apartments I'm from.
Which are?
Capitol Home.
Are you older than, younger than, or the same age as Mr. Zachary?
I'm
Because the
way-
jury doesn't know.
I'm way older than Zachary.
All right. Do you know about how many years older?
No, I don't know exactly how old Zachary is.
Now, you being from the same apartments, what circumstances did you have to get to know someone that much younger than you?
I know his mother and his father.
Were you friends with Mr. Zachary's mother or his father? Either of them. Were you friends?
Me and his father not friends, but I know of him.
Okay. At some point, did you socialize with Quindarius Zachary?
Yeah, he watched me grow up. He played basketball and stuff with me.
All right. Are you closer to him than his parents, or were you closer to his parents than him when you were growing up?
I say his parents,
All right. And which parent were you the closest to?
the father.
All right. Are you no longer close?
We don't have a problem. I just don't see him. He just don't be where I be at.
All right. What about Demekion Garlington? How long have you known him?
Since he was a child, too.
As between Quindarius Zachary and Demekion Garlington, are they around the same age or is one older than the other?
I think they're around the same age.
So it's safe to say that you're considerably older than Demekion Garlington too?
Yes.
How did you come to know Demekion Garlington?
I know his mama when she first had him.
Fair enough. How old were you then?
She probably like 2, 3 years older than me, so she had him at a very young age.
Okay.
So she probably was in high school, I was in middle school.
All right. So were you friends with his mom or were you?
Man, his mother's very close.
Did your relationship with Mr. Garlington's mom sort of spill into a closeness between you and Mr. Garlington, or do you all not have as close relationship as you do with his mom?
Could you repeat what you said?
Yes. Do you have the same type of close relationship with Mr. Garlington that you had or have with his mother?
Yes.
What about Kenneth Copeland or Woody? How well do you know him?
I probably met Copeland probably like 2014.
And under what circumstances did you meet Kenneth Copeland?
We had a debate,
You,
a
had-
disagreement.
you and Mr. Copeland had a disagreement?
Yes.
What year?
I want to say 2014.
Are you comfortable telling the jury what that disagreement was about?
It wasn't that serious.
Okay.
If that's what you said.
Just asking what it was about.
I don't recall what it was about.
So if you first met him when you all had a disagreement, how did you come to learn about the thing y'all disagreed over?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. You just told the jury, correct me where I'm wrong. that- Your Honor, I'm asking him about his relationship with certain people that are very relevant here in this indictment.
All right, I'll overrule it.
Would you tell the jury how it was that you came to meet Mr. Copeland over a disagreement? What happened?
I don't remember exactly what happened, so I just know I remember we had a disagreement.
What kind of disagreement?
It was just like an argument.
Now, is it that you came in contact with him, you met him, and immediately you all started like arguing with one another, or something you heard? Help me out.
Relevance again.
I'm assuming.
Judge, I'm just getting to his relationship with Mr. Copeland, and I'm going to segue into what it is now, but I'm asking for this witness to tell the jury to elaborate on something he testified about as it relates to a witness or a person of interest in this case.
All right, well, it doesn't sound from his responses so far like he recalls. So I'll let you ask it this one more way because you're saying that it's relevant. But if the answer's, similar to the last one, we're just going to need to move on.
I will. Thank you. Do you recall anything at all about how you and Mr. Copeland met beyond that it was over a disagreement?
I don't recall.
Did the disagreement last? In other words, did you get over it?
Yeah, we right in there on the spot.
Okay. And so how would you describe your relationship with Mr. Copeland?
You saying now or then?
Starting with after you got over the disagreement, what was your relationship like?
Man, we was cordial.
Since different people may have different definitions of cordial, would you explain to the jury what you mean?
We had a
when you say-
good relationship.
Were you as close with Mr. Copeland as you were with Sequindaria Zachary?
I treated all of them equal, so like I don't treat no one better than I treat the other one.
When you say all of them, who are you talking about?
You just said Zachary and Copeland,
Okay.
both of those two. Then.
Just those two.
Yes.
All right. Would you please tell the jury how well you know Yak or Diamante Kendrick?
How good do I know him?
Yes.
I know him as a great person, a good person. I know him. We have a good relationship.
Tell the jury when you first met Mr. Kendrick.
I want to say probably around 2013, 14, somewhere in there.
Where did you first meet him? Under what circumstances?
I want to say, can I say we was at a party or something and somebody introduced him to me, but I don't recall who introduced him to me.
Did you all hit it off right away?
We built a relationship.
Are you all close in terms of age? Or are you older or younger than Mr. Kendrick?
I think I'm older than Mr. Kendrick too, probably about 10 years or so.
What about Mr. Greer, Quintavious Greer or Mounk Tounk? How well do you know him?
I personally met Mr. Greer when he got out, 2019.
Was that the first time that you came to know Mounk Tounk?
Yes.
Had you heard of him before then?
Yes, I had heard of him.
And what kind of relationship did you have with Mr. Greer in 2019?
Well, I got out 2019 too, so but when we started seeing each other, we built a great relationship.
Mr. Williams, would you tell the jury how well you know Jeffrey Williams?
I know Jeffrey Williams great. I know him personally, yes.
How long have you known Mr. Williams?
About 15 years.
How did you come to know Mr. Williams?
When I started going to the park on Cleveland Avenue playing basketball.
Are you older than him, younger, or around the same age? As to Jeffrey Williams?
Yes.
Sustained.
And would you describe your relationship when you first met? Was it good? As good as it is now?
Me and Jeffrey always, once I met Jeffrey, we had a great relationship.
Did you hang out with Jeffrey Williams?
He was rapping at the time, so yeah, I used to go to a couple of the shows, support him.
Okay. Now you say 15 years ago. Around what year was that, if you recall?
Probably 2009.
What shows of his did you go to around 2009?
Nightclubs, teenager club, nightclubs.
Did you get to know his family as well?
Yes,
Have you been to Mr. Williams' house?
yes.
How often would you say you visited him at his home?
A lot.
Do you know his mother
Yes,
and do you know his father?
Yes.
Are you close with either one of them?
We have a good relationship.
Okay. How frequently do you talk to Mr. Williams' mother?
I ain't talked to her in a minute.
How frequently do you speak with Mr. Williams' father?
Not frequently.
Were you here at the courthouse yesterday?
Yes.
Did you speak with Mr. Williams' father yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. How long would you say you spoke with him?
I can't say.
Was it more than just a hi and bye?
No.
So you said hello, he said hello, and you all parted ways? You may answer.
Because you repeated.
Yes. You said it was no more than a hi and bye. So you said hello.
I never said that. You said that. I told
Thank
you.
you.
I told you that we had a conversation yesterday. I couldn't recall how long was the conversation.
Okay. So it went past hello. It was that you all stood and talked for a while.
Yes.
Did you all at any point discuss this case?
No.
All right. Did you come to know Dora and Dolly Greer through Defendant Williams, or did you learn of them some other way?
I learned through Mr. Williams.
Is it fair to say you met them all, his whole family, around the same time?
Yes.
And your relationship with Dora and Dolly, are they the same as your relationship with Mr. Williams?
Why wouldn't it be though? Yes.
Thank you. Of all the people that I've just asked you about, who is it that you've known the longest?
I met them all about around the same time.
And of all the people that I just asked you about, is there any one that you are closer to than any other?
I'm close to all three of them.
Now, we talked about Quindarius Zachary, Demikion Garlington, Kenneth Copeland, Jeffrey Williams, Quintavious Greer, Shannon Stillwell, and Diamante Kendrick, as well as Dolly and Dora Greer. When you say all three, what do you mean?
You asked me about Dora, Dolly, and Jeffrey just now. Now you talking about all of them. So
Thank
where
you
you
for
getting
correcting me. You're right. I'm asking you about all of the people that I've asked you about today. Of all of those people, who are you closest to?
I wouldn't say I'm closer than them. One of them, I have a great relationship with all of them.
Okay,
I wouldn't divide none of them, put them like that.
fair enough.
I feel the same way about one that I feel about the other.
All right. With respect to Mr. Marquavius Huey and Quamarvius Nichols, you said you know of them only, right?
Yes.
How did you learn of those two gentlemen?
Just sitting them around the city of Atlanta ain't but so big. We might bump into each other every now and then. Clubs.
Were there occasions where you would say you hung out with more than two of the gentlemen that I just named at a time?
Could you repeat that?
Did you ever hang out?
Yes. All right, I'm gonna need you to use your mic, okay, so I can even hear that you're making an objection.
Form of the question, which gentleman?
I would clarify.
Sustained, rephrase, please.
Yes. Of the gentlemen that are Shannon Stillwell, Diamante Kendrick, Rodelius Ryan, Kenneth Copeland, Demikion Garlington, Jeffrey Williams, Quintavious Greer, Marquavius Huey, Quindarius Zachary, Quamarvius Nichols, if I haven't said his name. Did you ever hang out with either with two or more of either of them?
What you mean by hang out? You can hang out many ways. So what do
What
you
are
mean?
some of the ways that you would call hanging out to this jury?
I never hung out with Hurley. I never hung out with Ryan.
Okay.
Been to Jeffrey shows, me and Kendrick at the studio, places like that.
Okay. And have you ever hung out with two or more of the people in the courtroom today at a time, at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Under what circumstances?
Video shoots, music videos, what club?
Is it only at video shoots and music videos that you've hung out
I
with
just
children?
said clubs.
And which two have you hung out with at the same time that are in the courtroom today?
What you said only two, right?
Which two or more that are in the courtroom today have you hung out
Mr.
with at one
Kendrick,
time?
Jeffrey, Stillwell.
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of whether you hung out with several people and asked for a curative instruction with regard to it's not illegal to hang out with anybody in the world.
All right, that's a speaking objection, and it is overruled.
Thank you. Since you asked my definition of hangout, would you please tell the jury what your definition of hangout is?
We didn't actually fully develop that, so I'm going to overrule that objection.
Would you please
Could you repeat it?
Yes. Would you please tell the jury what your definition of hangout is?
We hung out and had fun together, enjoying life.
Did you all ever work together?
Yes.
Doing what?
Like when we go on tour.
And when you say like when we go on tour, who is the we that you are referring to?
I've been on tour with all three of them.
All three being Mr. Kendrick.
Mr. Kendrick, William, and Stillwell.
Okay. And what were you doing while you were working on tour with Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Stillwell?
For YSL, the record label, I was head of security at once upon a time.
Head of security?
Yes.
Did you receive a paycheck?
Yes.
And who signed that paycheck?
It didn't get signed. It got sent from the company YSL to a bank account.
Okay. Did you have employees working under you?
No, I only pick, like when we go to different states, I only pick the security guards. And if they weren't doing their job properly, I sent them home too.
Where did you pick the security guards from?
From whatever security company they had.
When you say from whatever security company they had, who is the they that you are referring to?
Whatever security company in that state we was in.
Okay.
I don't remember the company's names or none of that.
How long was it your job to pick security personnel for Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Kendrick, and Mr. Williams?
Overruled.
I don't recall the testimony being that he did security for Mr. Stillwell.
I mean, he said he worked on tour with all of them. My recollection is that he worked on tour for all of them as head of security.
Well,
so, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe or ask him to
Flesh
clarify.
that out some more.
When you said that you, Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Stillwell, and Mr. Williams worked together, would you please tell the jury what that consisted of?
Well, I worked it for Mr. Jeffrey Williams, not Mr. Kendrick or Shannon Jackson.
And just to clarify, you mean Shannon Stillwell, who is also known as Shannon Jackson?
Yes.
So What were Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Stillwell doing while you were working security for Mr. Williams?
Kendra's an artist,
Okay.
and Shannon used to be with us, but trying to become an upcoming artist.
Is it fair to say then that Mr. Kendrick was performing while you were?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. And Mr. Stillwell was doing what exactly while you were working?
He probably doing other things like selling merch for Jeffrey Williams, setting up the merch,
Now, when you say the merch, what is it that you're meaning?
like selling T-shirts, hats.
And were those T-shirts and hats merchandise with the name Jeffrey Williams on it or something else?
YSL.
So when Mr. Stillwell was on tour with you, Mr. Kendrick, and Mr. Williams, was that his only job to sell merch?
No, we all did different things. We probably like helped with the clothing. We all did different things. We all just supported Jeffrey in any way we could.
And is it fair to say you want the best for each of them?
I never want the worst for anybody on this earth.
And when you say you all supported Jeffrey in any way that you could, what are the ways that specifically you, Mr. Kendrick, and Mr. Stillwell supported Mr. Williams?
The record label. We supported the music.
How?
What you mean, how?
Did you just testify that you all supported Mr. Williams in any way that you could?
Yes, by helping him get his clothes together, what he was going to wear, help him sell his clothing for his business.
And those items of clothes, did they each have the name YSL on it or did they have something else?
He got different clothes.
Okay. What are some of the other names that would appear on his clothes?
He have what they call Spider.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you know, or did Spider have any meaning to you for it to appear on Mr. Williams' clothes?
I didn't know the meaning of Spider. I just seen the clothing.
You never talked about it with anybody?
No, I don't have them discussions.
When you say you don't have them discussions, what discussions are you talking about?
I don't have discussion about his clothing line and what the meaning of his clothing line.
Even though you're selling it?
Yes.
Did you ever hear any one of those three gentlemen talking about the clothing line or
No.
the meaning?
I just only know what YSLs mean.
Where is it that you all sold the items of clothing with YSL and Spider on it?
Anywhere in the venue. Wherever they had us to set up in the venue. Same way you got me sitting here. Wherever they set up and tell us to set up at, we set up at.
And who is it that would tell you where to sit up?
Whoever's over the venue.
Understood. Now, did you tell me how long you had been working as head of security for Dependent Williams?
I don't remember the exact time, but I can't tell you exact how many years, how long it was.
Do you remember the last time that you worked at a venue as head of security for Mr. Williams? The year, generally speaking.
I want to say 2019.
And what venue was that?
We went a lot of places. I don't remember. We went so many places. I don't remember exact everyone you're trying to.
Did Mr. Williams give you access to places that you had not gone before?
I've been places without Mr. Williams.
I understand.
On my own.
Understood. My question, though, is did Mr. Williams give you access to any places that you had not gone before?
No.
And the last time being generally in 2019, do you remember what occasion that was that you worked at?
I don't remember Where we went so many places. We went to Utah. We went to so many places. It was unreal.
Did you work as Mr. Williams' head of security in 2009?
No, I don't even think Mr. Williams is famous yet.
When did you start working as head of security?
I want to say, when was his first tour? The rodeo, was it 2015?
So I heard you reference, when was his first tour?
It was 2015.
Is that late 2015, mid or early 2015?
I don't recall. I don't know if it was the middle when it started. All that I remember, him and Travis Scott was on tour together.
Okay. So before then, did you and Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Williams hang out for any reason other than work?
Could you ask that question again?
Yes. Before then, did you, Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Stillwell, and Mr. Williams hang out for anything other than work?
We partied together. I said that already.
And would you party only at clubs?
Sometimes we sit at Mr. Williams' house and enjoy ourselves.
And before you did the tour that you mentioned in 2015, did you work in any way for Mr. Williams, Mr. Kendrick, Mr. Stillwell, or any other defendant whom I've named today?
When I met Jeffrey Kendrick, I didn't know Kendrick or Mr. Stillwell when I first met Jeffrey.
Understood. In 2014, did you perform any work with either of the persons that I've just mentioned?
No.
Prior to the rodeo tour or 2015 that you mentioned, did you work in any capacity with Jeffrey Williams?
Could you repeat that?
Prior to the rodeo tour or 2015, did you work in any capacity with Jeffrey Williams?
Could you break that down so I can really understand that one?
Did you testify that you began working as head of security for Mr. Williams, starting with his rodeo tour?
Yes, in 2015.
Right. Thank you, because that was my next question. Was it in 2015? So before then, did you work for Mr. Williams doing anything?
No.
Okay. And before then, did you work for or with Mr. Kendrick doing anything?
I never worked for or with Mr. Kendrick.
Okay. And before then, did you ever work either for or with Mr. Stillwell doing anything?
No. It don't make any sense to ask the same thing. I told you already I didn't never work for Kendrick or Stillwell. Why would you ask the same question?
I understand your frustration, but
I'm
I'm
not
asking you
frustrated.
for the jury's sake.
I'm
okay?
not frustrated.
All right. Oh. Okay. And I understood you saying you didn't work for them. Did you ever work with either of those people before 2015? Mr. Sledge, are you going to answer?
I don't answer that question.
Okay. So I take it the answer is no? You never worked with them before 2015?
No, I already answered that question.
Thank you. Mr. Sledge, are you a part of a gang called YSL?
YSL is not a gang.
I am asking you specifically, are you a part, or have you ever been a part of a gang called YSL?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled.
And I asked you and told you YSL is not a guy.
Then if you could say yes or no.
No.
Have you ever been a part of a gang called YSL?
I just said no.
Would you please tell the jury if you know whether YSL has 3 or more members or associates?
You said, do they have 3 or more associates?
Let's start with members. Does YSL have 3 or more members?
Working members?
Does the organization, we'll call it, have 3 or more associates?
What you mean by the associate?
What do you understand associates to mean?
I don't understand what it means.
We'll come back to associates.
Right.
Do the 3 or more members of YSL that you are aware of share any common identifiers?
What you mean by identifier? You gotta be more specific when you asking the question.
Of course. Colors. Do the 3 or more members of YSL typically tend to wear the same colors?
We wear all type of colors. They wear all type of colors.
Is that a yes or is that a no?
I can't answer yes or no to that question because they wear all type of colors. You said they have Pacific color?
Do they wear any particular colors? Yes. That represents YSL.
No, not that I know of.
Okay. What about hand signals? Do the 3 or more members of YSL that you know of share any common or use any common hand signals?
Have I seen 3 or more of them use the hand signal?
My question is, do the 3 or more members of YSL that you just referenced, do they use common hand signals?
Yes.
Tell the jury about the common hand signals they use.
What you mean?
You just said yes.
I'm
Did you
saying,
not?
What you mean? I can't explain to you the hand signal, but I know it if I see it.
Can you show the jury?
I can't show them.
Why not?
It's not an individual handshake.
I didn't ask you about a handshake.
That's what you said.
No, I said hand signals.
Oh, well, I don't see use all type of signals. I don't know.
Would you tell the jury which ones that you do know of?
I only know of one.
What one do you know of?
You throw the Y, the S, and the L up.
Show the jury how to do that, please.
Like that.
I'm sorry, I missed it. And where is the Y, the S, and the L in what you just held up?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I just seen the hand signal be thrown.
Would you please hold that up and hold it for a second?
Could you see it?
How do you know that that is a YSL if you don't know where the Y, the S, and the L are?
I don't know where it's at. I just don't see it sitting. I never even try to figure out why the SL is.
Then how do you know that it stands for YSL?
Because I don't see it throwed up numbers of places.
How does that tell you that it stands for YSL?
I don't know, Ms. Lord.
You don't know?
No.
How long have you seen that hand signal being used?
I don't know how many years have I seen it being used.
When would you say the first time you can recall seeing it being used is?
When he started saying he was going to have his own label called YSL.
When you say when he, who are you referring to?
And that's what Jeffrey Williams' label is, YSL.
Are you asking me or telling me?
I'm telling you, that's his label. YSL label.
Do you know an approximate year that you first saw that hand signal being used?
No, I don't remember.
Do you know when it is that Defendant Williams established a record label called YSL?
He been saying it for years. That's what he wanted his label to be, but I don't know exactly what year that it was officially copyrighted, if that's the right word.
Are you familiar with a young man by the name of Trontavious Stevens?
Yes.
What do you call him?
Slug, tick, what?
And how long have you known Tick or Slug?
A long time, too. I can't tell you exactly how many years, but I've been knowing him a long time, too.
Generally around what year did y'all know?
I probably say around the same time I met Mr. Williams.
And under what circumstances did you meet?
In the park.
Who introduced you to Mr. Stevens?
Nobody introduced me. I was come around, and once they started saying names, I started remembering names. Once they started calling each other names, I started remembering names.
Who is the they that started calling each other names?
People in the park.
And so who were some of those people?
Jeffrey would call him Slug. You had a couple more people.
So is it fair to say that you met Mr. Stevens through Defendant Williams?
I wouldn't say I met him through, because Jeffrey Williams never came to me and said, well, this Slug and this Tick. So I didn't meet him through Jeffrey Williams.
Okay.
I met him just being around.
Okay. And did you ever hang out with Mr. Stevens?
Yes,
How often did you hang out with Mr. Stevens?
not often.
And how would you describe your relationship with Mr. Stevens when you first met him?
Me and Mr. Steve had a great relationship, but we didn't hang around each other like that.
Has anything happened to sour your relationship with Mr. Stevens?
No,
Is there anyone within YSL that you do not have a great relationship with?
no.
To your knowledge, who all is a member of YSL?
What you mean by a member?
Well,
You gotta be more.
earlier, did you testify that YSL has 3 or more members?
Yeah, I said business-wise.
And what did you mean when you testified it has 3 or more members? What definition did you have in mind when you gave that testimony?
Is this against the law to be a member of?
Now, Mr. Sledge, I'm curious about something. Did you hear me at any time bring up a crime?
I say is this against? I never said you brought up a crime. Ask the question.
Why did you ask me that question?
Because I want to know specific what you're trying to get at. Or could you just get on at what you're trying to get at?
Would you please tell the jury what difference the answer to your question makes as it pertains to what 3 or more members of YSL you know about?
You said 3 or more members I know about.
Yes. My last question was, why did you ask me, is it against the law to be a member?
I already told you 3 members I knew.
Thank you. Would you please name those 3 members that you know?
Stevenson, William, and Kendrick.
Okay. Now, would you tell the jury why you asked me, is it against the law to be a member?
I was asking you a question like you asked me a question.
I hear you. I'm
No
asking,
reason.
do you
No
understand
reason.
that?
I don't have a reason why I asked you that question.
Okay. Did you want me to answer it?
I would like you.
Your Honor, I believe that the witness's reasons for any of the responses that he gives to my questions are relevant, especially when they come in the form of that type of question.
That's not an objection. Just ask your question.
Okay. Did you want me to answer the question?
No, you don't have to answer. Go on with your other question.
Earlier, you testified that Mr. Williams was around 15 when you met him.
Yes, 15, 16, one of them.
Would it be fair to say you met him around 2006, 2007 then?
No. Mr. Williams is what, 33 and I'm 43? So I met him 2009, I remember, because I had just got out of prison.
Okay. Did you meet him at the park too?
Yes.
Okay. And did you meet his mom, dad, and sisters after you met him or before?
After.
And was that just going to his house and stuff like that?
Me and Jeffrey Williams hung together, so that's how.
How often did you all hang together, as you put it?
When we was younger,
Start there, please.
a lot.
How do you describe a lot?
Every other day, every day. What?
Did you consider him your best friend?
No, I don't have a best friend.
Was he as close as you get to having a best friend?
I looked at him as a little brother.
Okay. Is it fair to say you loved him?
Why not?
I don't know why not. I'm just
Yes, I love him.
Okay. Do you feel the same way about Mr. Stillwell
Yes.
and Mr. Kendrick?
Yes.
Do you feel the same way about anyone else in this courtroom today?
I don't have a problem with anyone in this courtroom.
Understood. Do you love anybody else in this courtroom today?
You're supposed to love everyone in the world.
I agree. Do you specifically love anyone else in this courtroom?
I can answer, I don't have a problem with anyone in this courtroom. I can't tell you that I love anyone else because I never had a personal relationship with them.
Okay. Do you love Demekion Garlington?
Yes.
Do you love Quindarius Zachary?
Yes.
Do you love Kenneth Copeland?
Yes.
Do you love them all, the ones that you said you love? Do you love them all equally?
Yes.
Are you equally as close with one as you are the other of those people that you love?
No.
Who are you closest with?
Sustained.
Would you tell the jury of those 3 or more members of YSL that you described, if there is any particular language that they have in common or that they use, other than average run-of-the-mill English?
Could you repeat your question?
Yes. Of the 3 or more members of YSL that you know of, is there any particular language or words that they use that is besides the run-of-the-mill common English language you'd find in a dictionary?
Object to run-of-the-mill you find in the dictionary? Nobody speaks like a dictionary.
Overruled.
I can't say because the whole world is speaky bunny, so I can't, like you said, in a dictionary. I wouldn't know what's in a dictionary. I don't look in a dictionary.
Okay.
So I don't know if the word you're looking for in the dictionary or it's not in the dictionary.
The word slime. Have you heard of the word slime?
They got a whole place called slime. They got a slime event. So, yeah, I don't heard the word slime. You got a play thing that you could take your kids to for the slime thing. So, yes, I have heard that word.
Have you heard members of YSL call each other slime?
I done heard people not YSL call each other slime.
That's okay. Have you heard members of YSL
Yes.
call each other slime?
Yes.
Now, have you called members of YSL slime?
Yes.
Now, when you called members of YSL slime, were you talking about that big old play thing that kids play on?
Miss Love, come on now. We ain't gonna.
Jury doesn't know.
We're not.
So you have to be
Of
clear.
course, I know they know. They no different from me and you. Come on, that ain't no question.
Tell the jury what you were referring to when you called
I wasn't
people.
referring to the play thing.
Okay. So what significance does the word slime
It's
have?
just a slang word we use towards each other.
And when you say we, who are you talking about?
The whole world, not just the Pacific people. The whole world. I call people slime that I don't even know. People be walking down the street, be like, "What's up, slime?"
And when you use it, what do you mean?
It's just a slang word for the streets.
How do you what does it mean though?
I don't know the meaning of it. The whole world, I guess it's slime like what it meant for itself, slime. The whole world slime to me.
So are you able to tell us anything about what you feel it means?
I feel it means no one can be trusted. That's what I feel.
Fair enough. And is that a phrase that members of YSL, I'm not talking about the whole world, just members of YSL, uses amongst themselves?
Why you want to say they just use amongst themselves when I just said the whole world use? You try to make it seem like it's just about them using it when it's not just them using it.
Understood. But I still have to know, is that a word that members of YSL use amongst themselves?
I don't know how to answer that question because I thought I already answered.
Are you the only member of YSL that uses the word slime?
No.
Okay.
That's a better question.
Thank you. Who else within YSL have you heard use the word slime?
The ones I've been around.
Who in this courtroom have you heard use the word slime?
Jeffrey, yeah, Stillwell.
Okay. Are they the only ones?
Yeah, because I never had another conversation with anyone like that.
Thank you. Now, would you please tell the jury who you know within YSL who have committed crimes intended to increase the street rep of YSL?
I don't know anyone that try to increase YSL. I don't know anyone try to increase YSL.
Did you understand my question?
You said, could you repeat it?
Yes. Would you please tell the jury what members of YSL you know who have committed crimes to increase the street rep of YSL?
I can't really say
Why not?
because I don't know anyone in this courtroom have committed a crime.
Fair enough. Any member of YSL that you know of who has committed crimes to increase the street reputation of YSL?
Could you put your question, could you make it better where I can understand what you're saying?
Who do you know that has committed a crime for YSL?
For YSL?
Yeah.
Nobody.
So who do you know who has committed a crime to boost the reputation of YSL?
Nobody.
Who do you know? Do you know what the word notoriety means?
No.
Do you know what notorious means?
No.
When I say street credibility, do you know what that means?
I have an idea of what you're saying about credibility.
What is your idea of what I'm saying about street credibility?
Like basically they commit crimes to try to boost the name up of YSL. But I don't think that was the case.
Okay. Now, you're saying that you know of no one within YSL who has ever committed a crime to increase the notoriety, street credibility, or reputation of YSL?
What I'm not saying that I don't know a person that claimed YSL had committed a crime, but I'm saying they didn't do it in the name of YSL.
Now, thank you for clarifying, but my question is, who do you know that has committed a crime to increase either the notoriety, the street credibility, or the reputation of YSL?
I don't think it was for the reputation or the street credibility of YSL. I just think the crimes were committed by what happened to them and they did it on their own. I don't think it was because of YSL, if that's what you're getting at.
I'm not. I'm asking you only what I specifically
Well,
said.
I don't know the answer to that question.
At any point over the past 2.5 years, have you known the answer to that question?
No.
Do you recall whether on December 28th, 2022, you knew the answer to that question?
And when I try to correct you on that answer, you wouldn't let me correct you on the answer, so.
First, we're gonna get an answer from you.
I object to the commentary. Ask a question.
Overruled. Go ahead.
First, I'm gonna ask you to answer the question, and then we'll get to what you just said, okay?
If you want to say on the plea agreement, yeah, I initiate on that.
Okay, so my question is, on December 28th, 2022, did you know of 3 or more members of YSL that have committed crimes intended to increase the notoriety, street credibility, and reputation of YSL?
My answer gonna be the same.
What is your answer?
When I try to get my lawyer to refer, I throw.
I just need, I'll let you explain,
no,
I promise.
No.
All right, hold on.
You wrote the rule that Mr. Sledge can finish his answer before the trial.
Okay, but he's not answering the question that she asked. So she's entitled to say, answer the question that I asked. And she
That is
has
exactly.
already said that she's going to let him explain that in just a minute. Go ahead.
So will you please answer or tell the jury if on December 28th, 2022, you knew of 3 or more members of YSL who have committed crimes intended to increase the notoriety, street credibility, and reputation of YSL.
Could I talk to my lawyer, Ms. Love?
That's up to the court.
You may. We're going to take a recess. Y'all go ahead and use